All right, it's time to start. It's 5 o'clock and we like to start on time. So, thank you, first of all, for joining us for our session on Be Safe in Cyberspace. I am Sukirti Gupta, co founder of Sipping Thoughts, and your host for today. So, all of us, especially now during COVID times, as we're stuck at home, we're wondering how to keep our children safe on the internet. And boy, this has become a challenge because we've got young ones, we've got teenagers, we've got everybody now actually on the net. Today, we're very, very lucky to have Pooja with us, who's an expert in this space. The B Space and Cyberspace seminar has been conducted at many, many leading schools in Delhi NCR. And we're very lucky to get that same person here to tell us how we can actually understand cyberspace and cyberspace security rules. By the end of this session, we hope you will better understand why we need internet safety, how parents can limit screen time in children, how do we monitor parameters for cyber safety, of course, gaming. I mean, I think this has become one of the big areas. And what are some basic cyber safety rules? A little bit about Sipping Thoughts before we move on. Sipping Thoughts is a multi platform media company that was set up keeping in mind the tagline Real Women, Real Thoughts. We are a no judgment platform where we wanted to create a network of women for women. Sipping Thoughts is available on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube, and of course, please do check out our website. A lot of you will be asking, this video will be available on both the Sipping Thoughts Facebook page and also the Sipping Thoughts YouTube page. We will be putting the links in the chat box. Well, Pooja really needs no introduction. She is a cyber safety counselor by profession and author of the book Be Safe in Cyberspace. Her workshops on internet safety are as popular as her articles, which have been published in leading national newspapers and magazines and various online publications. The Be Safe in Cyberspace program has been successfully conducted at the Mothers International School, the Sri Ram Millennial School, the Sri Ram School, Pathways. I mean, and that's just to name a few. So, again, I reiterate, we're very, very lucky. We're learning from the best of the best. Some do's and don'ts, some house rules. You are all on mute. That is mostly to avoid any background noise. But please keep chatting with us and sending us your questions. You can use the raise hand feature of Zoom. We will unmute you as we would like you to ask your question yourself, but please keep the question to point and to the topic. And last but not least, even though we're talking about cyber safety, technology is something that is often not within our control. So we will also ask you to forgive us for any technology glitches. And with that, I would like to invite Pooja. Pooja, welcome to Sipping Thoughts. So glad to have you with us.
Thank you so much, Sukirti. Very good evening and a very warm welcome to this session on how to be safe in cyberspace. I'd like to thank Sipping Thoughts and Sukirti for giving me this opportunity to interact with all of you wonderful parents. And a big thank you to each one of you for being here this evening and prioritizing cyber safety. Now, before I begin, I'd like to say two things. One, that this is not going to be a Gyan giving session. I think we already have an abundance of knowledge all throughout our social media platforms. So, this is going to be a highly interactive session. And I request all of you to be participative, to share your concerns with us so that we can give you solutions to create safe and productive online experiences for your children. The second thing I'd like to say is that I am not here to dissuade you or your children from using the power of the internet, because technology has given us this wonderful tool, a very powerful tool. In fact, it's a magical entity, because thanks to technology and the internet, that even during the current pandemic, we are all connected on this platform in spite of being miles away from each other. So from entertainment to information, from online shopping to paying our bills, it's all possible because of the power of the internet. Uh, some things which were science fiction when I was a child, things like location tracking and networking, those science fiction things are not fiction anymore. They are reality today for all of us. Which also reminds me of this program on Doordarshan called Star Trek. So those of you who remember this program with Captain Kirk and Dr. Spock, please type in DD into the chat window for me. Thank you, Sukirti. And The others, yeah, thank you, Vishal. Damini, thank you. Thank you, Dipshika, Vandana. So I can
I'm
see
just
a lot
watching Big Bang Theory also, so it always reminds me of.
true. So now, for all of us who've typed in Doordarshan and DD into the chat window, let me tell you that we are the Doordarshan generation, and our children are the Netflix generation. So the transition from Doordarshan to Netflix is something that we've been through. Yet, I would say that our children are digital natives of a place where we have just immigrated. Our children know the nuances of cyberspace inside out, and we're often wondering as to what exactly is keeping them glued to their devices. So, I'd just like to give me a minute. I would want to share my screen here. Sukirti, is it visible?
Yes, it is.
Right. So, Damini and Vandana and all the other participants here, please, if you could type into the chat window, what do our children really do online? I invite all of you to put in there. So they watch cartoons and network with friends, go to school, play games. Instagram, yes, one of the big ones. Gaming, Fortnite, PUBG. So let's classify these activities into basically two broad heads, I would say. So one is education, where our children are seeking information online. The other is entertainment. Now, when we have a platform which is giving us education and it's giving us entertainment, why do you think we need to be safe on the internet? So, uh, why do you think we need internet safety? Yeah, I got that, Gaurav, that GTA and video games. So my next question, participants, parents, why do you think we need internet safety? Restricted content is important, yes, but uh, uh, there's more than just education and entertainment. Yes, Sukirti. So yeah, lots of phishing. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. That's a wonderful response. Damini says because they're interacting with so many unsupervised people. Exactly. So when I look at it from the perspective of somebody who's been working in this domain for the last 8 years and counseling 3,000 plus parents, I would say that we need internet safety, like some of you already said, phishing scams. There is also a lot of identity theft and fake accounts being created. There's also sometimes those pop-ups that come on screen and age inappropriate content coming down to our children at a younger age than we would want them to get exposed to. Also the presence of cyber bullies, online predators and hackers. So now that you all agree that we need internet safety, my next question is then what is it that is actually stopping us from monitoring our children? What is it that is stopping us from, uh, you know, parenting them in the online world? So the first thing here I would say is that 90% of our parenting skills come from our own parents. But when it comes to us, the Doordarshan generation, who did not have the internet when we were growing up, we've not been parented on that front. So we don't have a reference point in that sense. The other thing is that most of our electronic appliances come with instruction manuals. Unfortunately, when the internet arrived, it did not come with a rule book. So that again leaves us clueless. And that is exactly what inspired me to write this little book called Be Safe in Cyberspace, which has very simple cyber safety rules. We'll discuss more about this later. But before I do that, I'd like to bring your attention to the fact that when I am surrounded by the four walls of my home with just a device in front of me, there is no physical threat. And similarly, being a parent of two children, I have a 19-year-old son and a 14-year-old daughter. When I see my children sitting in the comfort of their homes with just a screen in front of them, I tend to lower my guards as a parent because I think they are physically safe. But the very fact that they are in cyberspace makes them even more vulnerable, because there are people out there who take advantage of hiding behind this virtual screen that divides us and taking on any identity that they wish to. So these are some of the challenges that I, as a parent, have faced. I would now request you to put in what kind of concerns or challenges do you as parents face, so that, at the end of the next 25 minutes, I'll be giving you tools and solutions which will help you to limit screen time in children. It'll help create safe experiences for our children in the online world. So please type in what are the challenges that you as parents
So,
face.
Pooja, we've already gotten quite a bit. So I put in laziness because I just go with what's preloaded.
Right.
Kumar says lack of new technology. Sarita, privacy interference. Damini, the not to invade privacy. We want them to have their space and show respect for it. Sarita, they know more than we do. Parimal, invasion of their privacy. Dr. Vandana says not sure that they're surfing safely. uh, Ambika says children today know more than the parents. The Piksha says too much time in front of the screen, almost an addiction.
Yes. So, uh, as I said, I've been in this space, and I really thank you for all your responses. And Sarita and the others who said that technology is something that they're not very well versed with. They feel that children know more than them. I have special tools for you here. So, sharing the top 5 parental concerns that I see parents facing, which most of you have already listed. So, I'll quickly go through it. We'll be talking about safe social media usage. We'll be talking about how we can block pop ups and inappropriate content that sometimes children come across knowingly or unknowingly. We'll also be talking about limiting internet usage. Another very frequent question that parents ask is, what is the right age to give my child a smartphone? So we'll be discussing that. And last but not the least, how we could prevent cyberbullying. So on that note, I would just like to play a short 2-minute video for you parents, and then we discuss the solutions. So just give me a minute to, just a second.
I think it's a very interesting question that is asked because as we are stuck inside with the COVID times, what do kids do if not on technology?
So yes. So like I said, they are already using it for education and for entertainment, and entertainment being the bigger, taking away the bigger chunk of it. So we'll be discussing, like I said, we've discussed why we need internet safety, and I would love to address that question as to what they can do and what kind of alternatives can we create for them, which are equally exciting as is screen time. So if you, with your permission, I would like to, Sukriti, now play the video.
Perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, so this video doesn't have an audio. So it's not a technical glitch. Now, is she going to send that image? If she clicks on no, that'll be the wise thing to do. But let's see what she does. So congratulations, you made the right choice. But what could have happened if she chose to send that video or audio or photograph? Message sent. Her friend has received it. And now, will he show it to his friends?
Probably.
We're hoping that. But unfortunately, Sukirti, we no longer have that choice. So now he's sharing it with his friends. And should he pass it on to them? Will he? I hope he doesn't. But the decision is no longer in our hands now. It's being spread, forwarded, it's going viral. So friends in school have received it. She herself receives it. And now it's spreading to other people, and her younger brother receives it. Embarrassing. What about the mother's reaction? Shocked. And the father? Don't let others decide where your images go. Think before you post. So what was the message, parents, that we received there? So I would say that I would come to the rule number 1 of internet safety, which is that there is no delete button on the internet. So once you post something online, you really can't take it back. And the most important and basic cyber safety rule that we must tell our children and of course practice it ourselves is pause before you post. But the challenge here is when I hear about incidents like the boys' locker room, which happened on Instagram in May, it took whole of media and social media by storm. And believe me, parents, that is not just one particular group that is there. There are thousands of such groups across various social media platforms. And that's what gets me thinking that what is it that gets our children getting involved in such risky behavior on a relatively safe app like Instagram? So my take on it as a counselor is that we are not having enough conversations with our children about internet safety. We don't tell them the do's and don'ts because probably we ourselves are not aware that there are rules which exist in this space. And like Sarita and some others, other participants shared, they feel they're not tech savvy enough. So now those of you who feel that you're not very tech savvy, and that technology is a barrier, and that your children know much more than you, please type in me into the chat window if you feel that you're not very tech savvy. Yeah, I got that. Vihan, we have to keep them reminding. Yes. uh, Kumar, yes, I got that you feel. Ambika, Alka, thank you for your responses. Radhika, Vandana, Dr. Vandana, Vihan. So now for all of you who typed in me, there's a little bad news that it is this mental block that you need to overcome, because this is the barrier which is stopping you from having those conversations about cyber safety, about the do's and don'ts of the internet, because you feel that you are not tech savvy enough and that your children know more than you. But the good news is that there is still time. Get well versed with technology, start exploring on the internet, educate yourself about new apps, about whatever comes on, the kind of apps that interest children. And why I'm asking you to do that is because your children need your guidance, they need your support. There are times when the consequences of their online actions spill out of cyberspace and mess up their real lives, and they are too immature to handle this situation. So they need guidance from you as a parent. It's like saying, if I don't know how to swim, how can I teach my child how to swim? The same holds true for technology, which brings me to the number 2 rule of internet safety, which is communication. So once I'm tech savvy, once I have a certain amount of idea about what are the latest apps that interest my child, I can start having those conversations. I can share my concerns. So if I feel that a certain feature on, let's say, Snapchat is a little risky, then I need to share that concern with my child. And at the end of the session, I'll be sharing details about our website. You can contact us. It's got wonderful resources out there. We keep updating parents about what are the latest apps and the new sites that are getting popular with children. For instance, most of our teenagers are on Instagram and not on Facebook because they think Facebook is for the Doordarshan generation, the oldies, and Instagram is very, very popular with them. And they also know that their parents don't have Instagram accounts. So that's what encourages them all the more to be on such platforms, which, they're using it for direct messaging rather than being on Facebook, they prefer to be on Insta. So if you have concerns, if you've read news reports about certain bullying incidents or certain incidents like the boys' locker room, which happened on Instagram, share your concerns with them. Tell them about the mistakes that you made when you were children. That opens them up. And whenever we talk about communication, it has to be a two-way channel. So allow them to share their concerns. What do they think about issues that they are facing in the online world, and listen to them, discuss with them, and have open dialogues with your children. So how many of you would agree to that? It makes sense. So please type makes sense. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Sarita. Thank you for sharing your responses. Thank you, Divya. So with that, I would now move on to the rule number 3, which is, questions like, what is it that I need to monitor when it comes to the online world? Parents are often confused about what to monitor and how to monitor. So a simple request that I would like to make here is that in case you have your children around you, for the next 2 minutes, because I'll be sharing monitoring parameters, I would request you to either plug in your earphones or move to a space where you don't have your kids around you, so that I could quickly share some very powerful tools that can help you monitor your children. Thank you.
I think one of the questions always comes up in the monitoring, I think, which a lot of people have asked, how much to monitor and what is private and what is not private.
Yeah, I would love to share my view on that. But before I do that, because, sometimes we feel as parents, are we intruding into the child's private space? Are we violating their rights? Because, going through their posts, their messages on WhatsApp. So am I really intruding into the child's private space? But here, Sukirti, I would say it's a question of privacy versus safety. So again, it's a personal choice as to, what would you prioritize. So personally, if I talk, I would want to create that communication channel with my child wherein I trust the child with the fact that they've already got a hang of the kind of internet safety do's and don'ts that I would want my child to follow. So when we talk about real world safety, even if it's something like narrating the Red Riding Hood story to them 10 times so that they understand that they don't have to interact with strangers. But how many of us have had that conversation with our children about not interacting with strangers in the online world? Just because they want those X number of followers on Instagram so that they get more likes on their posts, they end up befriending strangers. And when it comes to playing online games, especially the multiplayer games, they are interacting with absolute strangers. And unlike playing football or basketball in the field where they can see whom they're playing with, the screen becomes a barrier. They end up interacting with strangers. We've had cases where there are pedophiles who are there on these games or on social networking platforms. So again, it's a question of safety versus privacy, and that choice is entirely up to you. If you can educate your child first, of course, you need to learn and educate yourself about the do's and don'ts, about the perils that very few perils that this space had. So I started with saying that we've got immense education and entertainment. It's a powerful tool, but we just should know how to use it carefully. So when it comes to, does that answer it, Sukirti?
I think so. Yeah, we'll come back to it,
And
I think, in the Q&A also.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. So we'll definitely discuss more about this in the question and answers when we open the house for questions. Coming to rule number 3, that is monitor. So one, I need to monitor the data usage. So suddenly if you see a spike in the data being used, probably the child has been playing too much online, or they've downloaded something which has sucked away the data. The other thing I check is the device history. But again, Doordarshan generation versus Netflix. So what they do is they delete the device history, or sometimes they even browse in private mode, or it is called incognito browsing. So a very quick good tool that I want to give here is do a Google search on your child's name, because sometimes they're creating social media accounts without your knowledge. So once you do a Google search, you'll be able to see what comes up and you'll be able to monitor them much better. Also, what happens is, especially on platforms like Instagram, they are asked to put in a username. So what I can do in that case is, it's not going to show up in the Google search by name, but I can definitely do a image search. So I need to upload the child's photograph, and that's when I could come across accounts that they may have created without your knowledge. Also, I would like to quickly talk about parental software controls. So if technology has given us apps like Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and WhatsApp, it's also given us apps which help us to control our children's, at least monitor their activities. And personally, of course, I would prefer to communicate with the child rather than control, because no parental control can replace a parent's role in the child's life, whether it is the real world or the online world. But when it comes to safe browsing, that's when I could say that a parental software could help me install web filters that block out pop-ups. I could also block up certain sites. I could set time limits and install it across multiple devices. So I'll quickly share, although there are many such control apps available, I'll quickly share just 3 of them. One is Custodio, which has a free as well as a paid version. Both of them are equally good, but Custodio will monitor only Facebook and not other Instagram kind of platforms. So Bark is one app which can be used to monitor Instagram as well. But again, at the cost of repetition, I would say that I would any day prefer to communicate with the child, because they would be able to open up and tell me much more about what they are doing online rather than my spying on them as a parent. Another thing, sorry. Now, those of you who got it so far, kindly please type "got it" into the chat window so that I know that you're with me until now.
I think one question, when we install these apps, does the child also know that these apps are installed?
So yeah, the good feature here is that you can hide the icon, and you can also activate the uninstall protection as is displayed on my screen. You can activate the uninstall protection and hide the icon, so the child doesn't get to know that this particular parental control has been installed on their device. And the good thing here is that I can even track their location. So if they move, let's say 1 kilometer beyond the location that I am in right now, let's say the home location, then I get an alert on my screen on my email saying that they've moved beyond. So it helps me in location tracking as well. But again, I would say it's better to communicate with our children rather than install these controls behind their back. But definitely for younger children, I would highly recommend this, because it installs the safe browsing feature, and I'm able to install web filters, because unknowingly sometimes they come across adult content which suddenly pops up on screen. So could I move to the next rule?
Sure.
Yeah. So so I was saying that another thing that we need to monitor is the impersonation, is who's who behind that fake account. So somehow in the last 2 weeks, I have been receiving at least 2 calls every day from either children or their parents saying that, ma'am, somebody's created a fake account of me on Instagram or Snapchat, and now they're pretending to be me. Now, a very simple thing, parents, that we need to do here is that you have to click on the right corner. You'll see three dots on the profile picture of the account. You select report. So let's say if it's an Instagram account, you select on report, and then you follow the online on-screen instructions. And once Instagram realizes that this is a fake account that has been created in your child's name, they will deactivate it. Also, I would now come to, so now until now we've discussed three rules of cyber parenting. First thing is pause before you post. The second we spoke about was creating a communication channel with our children, and the third thing was the monitoring parameters. With that, I come to a very simple yet very effective rule, which is rule number 4, that is switching off the router at night. Now, what is typically happening is, like someone asked in the very first place, was that what do children do online in this? What do they do when they are stuck at home in the current pandemic? So, what is typically happening is that during night time, they are getting unlimited, unsupervised access to the Wi Fi. And that is exactly when they are getting into online gaming addiction. So, we have games like PUBG, we've got games like Fortnite. Somebody had mentioned it when I asked, what do your children do online? Now, as a parent, am I aware that there are age limits on apps? Like, just like when you take your children to a theme park and there is a height limit to it. Similarly, when it comes to the online world, platforms like Facebook and Instagram have a 13 plus limit. Even Snapchat, it's got a 13 plus limit. Games like PUBG are for 17 plus. But I have cases wherein children as young as 9 and 10 are getting addicted to playing a game like PUBG. They're coming across strangers, they're coming across a lot of bad language, and it's getting infusing a lot of aggression in them. It's making them sleep deprived. So these are the perils of like uh, perils of being in the online world without being monitored. So in case you've got it so far and you're with me, please type in with you in the chat window.
So when you say unplug the router, you just unplug it, you just turn off the Wi-Fi at a
Yes,
certain time.
just turn off the Wi-Fi. And uh, you know what typically happens is that there are times when, now of course, we've given our children access to smartphones. Before we told them the rules that they're supposed to follow, we've already handed over that gadget to them. It's like letting your child drive a car, a Ferrari, without a driver's license. So without knowing traffic safety rules, they're obviously bound to bump into accidents, and that's exactly what's happening. I'll quickly share here a
Now,
case.
one more question. Even if you turn off the router, but they all have data on their phones.
Yeah. So that's exactly where I said, communicating with them, setting up house rules, talking to them about safe smartphone usage, which is actually the rule number 5. So, uh, you know, I would just like to share a case that happened. Like I said, I was talking about giving them smartphones without telling them the do's and don'ts. So this was about a 13-year-old girl, a grade 8 student, who was a little low on self-esteem, but she was very good at painting. Now she had been asking and pestering her parents to buy her a smartphone for her 13th birthday. And the parents, being both doctors, and they were very very busy, that's when they uh, relented into her demands, and they gifted her a smartphone for her 13th birthday. And this girl created an Instagram account, and she started posting pictures of her paintings and had an X number of followers and started getting likes. So that's when she felt accepted, because when it came to the peer group, like I said, she was a little low on self-esteem, so she did not have very many friends. Now, when she started getting these likes on Instagram, it obviously gave her a high. And Among these followers was a 19-year-old boy. So from Instagram, the conversation drifted to WhatsApp and they started chatting. And now the rule in the house was that 9 p.m. this girl was supposed to submit her phone to her mom every night, and the mother would randomly check her WhatsApp conversations. So on a Monday night, when the mother receives the phone, she checked the WhatsApp conversation, and it said that she was willing, the daughter was willing to be picked up from outside the school gate on a Wednesday morning at 8 that morning. So when she discovered these chats, the mother was obviously highly paranoid. She confronted the daughter. There was a lot of, heated argument. And next morning they contact me. Now, of course, besides counseling the girl, what we did was we did a background check. We checked the IP address of that so-called 19-year-old friend that she was chatting with. And it so boils down to this, that he was following 50 other such girls, and he was not a 19-year-old, but a 49-year-old man taking advantage of hiding behind that screen. So my question here, parents, is that one, what do you think is the right age to give your child a smartphone? And two, when you're giving that phone, are you really talking to them about safe cell phone usage? 13 or 14, says Sukriti. And safe usage and then give it at 14, says Sarita. Thank you, Sarita. I'm waiting for a few more responses, and then I'll share what I feel would be. Parents don't have a say. Alka, yes, I would love to address that. Okay, so as Alka rightly said, parents don't have a say. Dr. Puram says it's peer pressure, yes, and as long as I would want to delay it, maybe that's what Dr. Poonam is trying to say. Ideally would have thought 14, but now 10, and had given a phone because education. Yes, Damini, I totally agree. This pandemic is such a unique situation, and it's brought in very unique challenges for us. And Reena, like you say, it is the peer pressure. Finally, that peer pressure starts coming onto us, and it builds onto our minds, because the children will start pestering you. Surbi also says 13 and 14. So yes, I agree that 13 and 14, yes, would be the perfect age to give them a phone. And of course, some parents, because of the pandemic and because of school classes happening online, are forced to give it before that. Now, as an expert, I would say that parenting in the real world is parenting in the digital world is not very different from parenting in the real world. So when it comes to, let's say, buying my child a bicycle, I ensure that they learn how to ride it. I ensure that they learn how to balance it. Similarly, when I'm giving my child a smartphone, I need to, one, set safety rules, set family rules that they're supposed to give you back that device maybe after 9 or 10 in the night, whatever is comfortable to you. Two, you need to teach them how to balance the real world versus the virtual world. Screen time should not be taking away their focus, their energy from academics, from other co-curricular activities, from playtime, from interacting with their friends, or with social networking in the real world. So, Sukirti, would you like to add to that?
No, that's perfect. I think people are loving your example of the bicycle. So true.
Yeah. So, so this was rule number 5 of internet safety, where I talked about smart use of smartphones. So we've discussed the right age, and we've discussed about safe usage of cell phones. Also, a very simple but effective tip is that if you have a common charging station for all your devices, so in that way you'll be able to ensure that the device is not with the child at night, and that also solves your problem of using mobile data. So if the device is with them in their bedroom, they'll be accessing data even at night. Sukirti, if you could just give me a time check, because once I'm in the
It's 5:40.
Okay, okay. So I would now move on to rule number 6. Uh, yeah, which is about regulating internet usage. So someone asked, what are the kind of alternatives that we can have to screen time? So I'll quickly give you a little thing here that, typically what happens is that the unlimited scroll potential of social media platforms, is that how I would put it. So because I have unlimited access to so much of content, it's very entertaining. Also, like I said previously, the number of followers on these platforms, the number of likes that they get for their posts, this can be highly addictive. But what if I gave you a good news that your children are not addicted to their device? It is actually a neurotransmitter, a chemical in the brain called dopamine, which is addictive. So it is the same dopamine that gets released when, let's say, a person having tobacco or alcohol, or when a person who loves food, enjoying their food, it gives them that dopamine rush. It gives them that feeling of high. It gives them that feeling of excitement. So it is that same dopamine which is giving our children that feeling of fun and excitement when they're playing online. Now tell me, if your children, if you take them to a theme park, which I don't know when that would be happening next, but let's keep our fingers crossed that this pandemic ends soon and we're able to enjoy our vacations. So it is these vacations, these theme parks that give us that dopamine high. And would a child in a theme park be accessing their smartphone? Obviously not. So what if I could look for alternatives that could give them that same dopamine rush, that same feeling of fun and excitement that screen time gives them? So I'll just
But
quickly.
is there anything? Are there some examples of something that gives them such a big dopamine, especially now, because a lot of sports, a lot of the interaction, especially is very much now constricted to the devices?
Yeah. So I was going to share an experience from my own life. Like I shared previously, I have a 14-year-old daughter. She has been learning Bharatanatyam since the age of 6. And now, when she entered grade 6, the peer pressure of having her own personal phone started building onto me. Now, when I thought of an alternative, I thought, why not give her, if it is Bharatnatyam that she's passionate about, it gives her that dopamine, it gives her that feeling of excitement when she's dancing. And I spoke to her guru, and we have this thing where in a Bharatnatyam dancer has an Arangetram performance, which is her first solo performance. Um, so I spoke to her guru, and we came on to this that I said, instead of having the Arangetram, 4 years from then, and then I thought, the academic pressure would start building up. She'll be in grade 10. So we came to this thing that if we increase the number of classes and let her enjoy that performance, enjoy the, learning such a fine art, and it gives her that dopamine, then why not? So we increased the frequency of her classes. Her guru was kind enough to relent. And after those, believe me, Sukirti and other parents, after those 2 hours of, dancing and learning, she was too tired to even ask for anything else. All she wanted was to, give her feet and back a rest. And I'm very proud to share that last November, when she was 13 and she was in grade 8, she had her Arangetram performance at India International Center, and there were some 200 plus people. It was a very proud moment, and I was able to kill two birds with one stone. I was able to get her off that phone, the pestering for that phone that was carrying on. She still doesn't have a smartphone. And of course, I've given her access. She has a tab, she has a laptop of her own, so she accesses WhatsApp through WhatsApp web. Um, and I would love to answer any questions on that, because if we're looking at creating alternatives, What I'd like to add here definitely is that when I'm looking for that alternative, it has to be unsupervised. If I, as a parent, start poking my nose into it, then it kills that fun and excitement feeling. So if I would have gone back to her guru asking, now when is the performance happening? How good is she doing? That would have put off my child completely. So you could look for alternatives that excite your children. It could be playing a musical instrument. It could be football or basketball, playing lawn tennis, swimming. I know these kind of options are a little restricted, but on YouTube, we also have a lot of do it yourself kits. It could be baking, it could be anything that excites your child. This dopamine high happens to all ages, is what Sarita is asking. Yes, it happens to you and me as well. And that is exactly what keeps us addicted, or addicted would be a very tough word, I would say, which we use very casually. But excessive screen time, even in adults, is happening because it gives us that dopamine high. So, even for me, reading gives me a dopamine high. Interacting with people, conducting these kind of sessions gives me a dopamine high. So I would really appreciate the fact that you're interacting so much. Yeah, thank you, Sarita. She says, I know of adults who are stuck to screens. And there are times when I find myself kind of losing track of time when I am on WhatsApp or on my Facebook. So those of you who can connect with that, please type in me so that I know that I'm not the only person, I'm not alone in this room here.
But isn't that what the children are seeing? They're seeing us glued to our smartphones. They're seeing us glued. They're seeing us working all day on the laptop. And then that's one of the retorts they always come back with.
Yeah. So Sukirti, that exactly is when I talk about ABC of screen time, that's the C part, which is cutting down on your own screen time. But before I do that, I would also like to, create a budget, with school classes happening online, as it is the exposure to screens, the impact on the eyes, the impact on the attention span of the child. It's getting too much. Screen time is hitting an all-time high. So I would strongly recommend parents that sit across the table, communicate with your children, have an open dialogue, and create a budget. Involve your child in the decision making process. Otherwise, they feel that you are in control. So, what's important here is that when you budget that screen time, let us say for a 10-year-old, I would recommend 2 half-an-hour slots, one in the one after their maybe online classes have got over, so maybe around 2:30 in the afternoon, and another half-an-hour session maybe in the evening around 6 or 7. So as a family you need to create those rules, and like Sukirti correctly pointed out, coming to the C of ABC of reducing screen time, I need to cut down on my own screen time before I can preach my children to do that. And I would also like to add a D to it. So as it is, with work from home and school classes happening online, a lot of co-curricular activities happening online, screen time is anyway quite excessive through the week. So maybe a digital detox over the weekend for the entire family, so that you can bond together, play board games, uh, and let's relive our childhood through innovating things that we can do with our children while we are stuck at home. So that was the rule number 6 of
Pooja, there's a question coming in from Facebook on this specifically that you are asking. But the kids will rebel. They just don't obey the screen timings, especially for teenagers.
yeah. So there I would say that, going back to rule number 2, creating a communication channel, telling them why screen time is getting, if it is getting excessive, why is it harmful for them? What is it that they need to do so that they can create alternatives that are fun filled for them? So, if like I have 2 teenagers in the house, it's always best to, instead of rebelling, and now you being very pushy and that tug of war happening, I would highly recommend that it's done in an amicable manner wherein you treat your child at the same level, listen to them, listen to why they want to be on screens, then present your take on it as to why you think excessive screen time is harmful for them. It's going to lead to one, the concentration span, the attention span going down. Now, with classes which are happening online, I often see that children, parallel to the Microsoft Teams or Zoom class that's being conducted by the school teacher, parallel to that, they'll have a window open or they'll be chatting with their friends. Even on MS Teams, they'll be doing a private chat rather than focusing on what the teacher is telling them. They're busy on other windows, other screens. Uh, so that is when I think I need to step in. Like I said in the first place, parenting in the virtual world is no different from parenting in the real world. When we talk to them about academics, we talk to them about activities, we talk to them about safe and unsafe touch, good and bad behavior in the real world, I really fail to understand what stops us from talking to them about good and bad behavior in the online world. So definitely I would recommend that in case a child is rebelling, give them a listening. Understand why is it that, what is it that is on screen which is pulling them. Sometimes I've also had cases where children do not get enough approval in real life. They do not get enough attention in real life. And that's when they're seeking that attention online. They're seeking it from strangers. They're seeking it from their friends, from their peer group by being online. When they get those likes on Facebook, on Instagram, it gives them that high. What if I were to give my child a hug, give them that love, give them that bonding in real life, give them that attention and approval, and believe me, they'll stop rebelling. When they're getting that love, they're getting that approval and attention from you, they'll stop going online to seek that. I hope that answers it, Sukirti.
Yes. So can we take one question right now? Bhavna has a question. Go ahead.
Hello.
Yeah. Hello, Bhavna.
Yeah, I'm Bhuna Vasudevan from Pondicherry. I just have a question, ma'am. Like when we just register in webinar, because there are so many webinars coming in Facebook or Instagram and all that.
Mm-hmm.
When we just register for webinar, my iPhone, it asks me a question like, the people who are giving you the webinar, they will take you the privacy policy.
Mm-hmm.
And is it okay to, go ahead and register or because 2-3 webinars, actually the topic was good, but since it just gave me a warning, I just, I came out of it, I didn't register.
Yeah.
So like, I just wanted to know, because there was, as soon as we type our PD, whatever mail ID we have, automatically it gives our mail ID, phone number, our name and everything, automatically it just comes. Because when we register even for 1 or 2 webinars, automatically, the phone has got the Facebook and all that, it has got a storage of our data actually.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we go about this?
Yeah, I got your question, Bhuvan. I'm glad you brought it up. So, like you said, they're asking for your email address, your phone number, and various other contact details. So typically what is happening is that even when we download apps or we register for webinars, a lot of our, a lot of security issues are definitely happening. And uh, just like our Aadhaar card, our passport, these are personal information to us. Equally valuable is your phone number, your email address. A lot of hacking happening out there. So you have to be very, very careful when you're downloading apps, especially because when they give you those 2 pages of terms and conditions, believe me, none of us read it. We simply click on I agree, and that's when we get into trouble. So a little tip that I would like to give you here is that suppose, I'm trying to download an app like a cam scanner. It's going to ask for permissions. Will you allow access to all media from your phone? Now, when I allow access, if I deny, it's not going to get installed. I'll be unable to download the app. I won't be able to install it on my phone, let's say.
Yeah.
But if I allow permission, it's going to access all my media. So what I do is typically, let's say if I want to scan a document. So I download this app, I allow permission, I finish off my work, and I go back and either I uninstall the app if I don't use it anymore, or even if you go back to that feature and you deny permission to media, you'll still have the app, but they won't have access to your media files. Does that answer it, Bhuvana?
Yeah, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I think one more dangerous thing that happens when you're downloading a lot of apps is they all ask you for your location information. So, how many of the kids are thinking about that and actually making sure that when they're asking for all these permissions, that we are just blindly checking off, yeah, 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 yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
True.
especially, we've seen a lot of kids checking in wherever they go.
Yeah, and
What are your thoughts on that?
yes, Sukirti, it's not just kids. I think, there are a lot of parents, a lot of adults who would want to, let's say I'm flying to Paris. So personally, I might want to show off. So I do a check-in, IGI airport, Paris, I'm coming. And once I land there, uh, I again do a check-in. It's like giving a thief an open invitation, and it's happened. Believe me, it's happened. There have been newspaper reports. People's houses get burgled because they put up a Facebook post. It's an open invitation to thieves. I'm not at home for the next 2 weeks. Come rob my house. And that's exactly what even children are doing. The moment they enter a cafe coffee day, check in. Select City Mall, check in. It's like, you're telling a stalker exactly where to find you. So again, I've been emphasizing this ever since we started the session. It's high time we start having these conversations with our children. It's high time we start telling them that there are risks in this space. So we need to use the internet wisely and cautiously without getting trapped in it.
One last question that we will take. Harpreet, go ahead. Harpreet Kaur, please go ahead.
Harpreet, do we have you here?
Yes, I think she has muted herself. Okay. So I think she did have her hand raised. Gaurav has his, I think there are no more questions. I see Harpreet has her hand raised. Harpreet, go ahead.
So Kirti, I think until Harpreet connects, should I take Damini's question?
Please go ahead.
Yeah, so she says, Damini here says, even harmless games for kids with proper age limit do have a lot of pop-ups. Any hack of keeping a check on that? Yes, Damini, like I shared earlier, we have parental software controls like Custodio, Bark, and K9, which can block out these pop-ups from coming up on screen. In fact, I'll quickly share here that in the last parenting session that I did, I had this query from a mother who was shopping for lingerie online, and now her 7-year-old was getting exposed to lingerie ads that would pop up on screen when the child was playing online games. So, like I said, parental controls, although I am not in very big favor of controls, I'd rather communicate. But when it comes to young children getting exposed to online adult content, I think as a parent, it is something that I would not want my child to come across. So to block these pop-ups, Damini, all you need to do is activate or install any kind of parental software control. Right.
Well, thank you. As always, we are always out of time. So any last tip before we sign off for today?
Yeah, so what I would like to do is just share my screen back again. And yes, so I would just want to go back to the previous slide. My screen's got stuck. Sorry, just give me a minute. There's a slight glitch here. Yeah. So what I would want to give a simple tip, like I started with sharing this book called Be Safe in Cyberspace, a very, very slim volume written in very simple language, especially for young children, enumerating very simple cyber safety rules. Pause before you post was one of them, and others such as not sharing personal information, taking cues from the Red Riding Hood story. So these are simple tips that are listed here in this book. The book is available at Amazon. The other thing that I would like to share here is that if you could just connect with us for updates on our website called www.besafeincyberspace.in. So what I would like to do here is, Sukirti, like you said, one small tip. I would want to share something like a PDF document which enlists 97 popular teenage apps. These apps are very popular with teenagers, but as a parent, sometimes we are absolutely clueless. So if you could just go on this website and register in the parents form, we're going to mail you the document, a PDF document containing all the tips and tricks about 97 social media apps that our children normally use.
Well, thank you all for joining us. Like what we constantly say, communication, 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 that is key. And thank you all for being with us. And I wish you all a very, very good night. Thank you, Pooja, for sharing this insightful information with us today.
Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity. And I thank all the parents here for their patient listening. I really hope that you choose to be safe in cyberspace. Thank you.
Good night, everyone. Have a great weekend.